Indeed, Korea is the defending Olympic champion. And they are taking on Mexico. This is game 1, actually game 2 of round 2 here in San Diego. And here's the lineup that manager Vinny Castilla has put together and presented to home plate umpire Joe West. Jerry Hairston Jr. will lead off in center field. Edgar and Adrian Gonzalez, the brothers. Jorge Cantu in the cleanup spot. And Scott Hairston, along with his 4 hits, has 8 walks and an on-base percentage so far of .667. Jorge Vasquez is designated hitter. Rod Barajas, a veteran catcher. Christian Prezici has just been added to the roster, what with the injuries to Uribe Durazo and Alfredo Amezaga. Augie Ojeda is a shortstop. He will be batting 9th. Pitching and defense, of course, is the hallmark for this Korean club. And so let's introduce you to the defenders. In left field, Hyun-Soo Kim. Jung-Wook Lee is in center. Young-Kyu Lee is in right. As you look at this team with Lee and Park on the left side of the infield and Jung and Kim on the right and Kyung-On Park behind the plate, you look at the roster and you look at their resumes, everybody's a Gold Glove winner 3, 4, 5 times over.
And we keep talking about the defense for that reason, because they have a proficient system, Charlie, that works. Work fast, throw strikes. But the other thing is, you can talk that all you want. You practice it right, you practice it at game speed, and you will see a lot of results, and that's what they get them.
As the Koreans take the field, we were marveling yesterday. It's something we don't see around the United States in practice sessions very often, and certainly days of game. Infield drills, outfield drills, and each drill was there for a purpose, and there was no lollygagging whatsoever. That's an old Korean term, as you well know. But they were so serious about their business, and so it is no accident that their defense is that good.
And they're counting on Ryu to get things done. He only won 3 innings when he pitched against Chinese Taipei back on March 6th, but he is a workhorse, battle tested in the Olympics. Overwhelming, excellent stuff. Fastball, slurve, changeup, and look for the rhythm to be fast with this catcher. And behind the plate, as you mentioned, Kyung-On Park, to keep him on track. And as a young pitcher, Charlie, and being a lefty again, keep your emotions in check.
Ryu will turn 22 in 10 days. Last season for the Hanwha Eagles, a record of 14 up and 7 down. Struck out 143 batters in 165 innings. And what's fascinating about this Korea team, and one of the players on Mexico will be going to play in Korea for the Lotte Giants, not starting tonight, Kareem Garcia. We were talking with him the other day in Mexico City and said, well, when does the season begin over there? He said, roughly March 28th. I said, what do you mean roughly? If Korea continues on to, say, Los Angeles in the championship round, they will put opening day back a few days to make room for this Korean club managed by 61-year-old In-Sik Kim. This is his 2nd World Baseball Classic. It's a chilly 57 degrees. A noisy throng on hand here at Petco Park as Jerry Hairston steps into the batter's box. Hairston 4 for 11 this past week down in Mexico City. He takes under the knees, 1 ball and no strikes. Jerry Hairston Jr. and of course his brother Scott, 3rd generation baseball family at the major league level. And Jerry swings and misses. It's 1-1. It all began with Sam Hairston, product of the old Negro Leagues, who broke the color barrier with the Chicago White Sox in 1951. Played only 4 games at the major league level at the tail end of his professional career. Foul back and out of play, 1-2. And Jerry Hairston came along and had a very fine career. And Jerry, of course, produced Jerry Hairston Jr. and Scott Hairston. And how in the world did they get on Team Mexico? Their mom was born in Hermosillo, Mexico. And so the Hairston brothers playing for Mexico, the 1-2, outside 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Charlie, and for Vinny Castilla, is just a breath of fresh air to have Jerry Hairston back in the lineup.
Jerry was sick. He had food poisoning and missed the last game completely. Just inside his 3 balls and 2 strikes, and he was so badly dehydrated that he was even an iffy proposition coming into tonight, but he's feeling much better.
And in order for them to produce runs, put pressure on the Koreans on the base path, they need Jerry Hairston on base.
The 3-2. Whack to third. Lee to first. The Koreans made an unbelievable 1 error last week, and for them, that is something to write home about.
That is a lot. They are just a synchronized, well-oiled machine. Step and throw, play catch.
3 years ago in the 2006 World Baseball Classic, as Edgar Gonzalez steps into the batter's box. Of course, he knows Petco Park well, as does his brother, who's on deck. Japan beat Korea 1-0 in one of the most technically perfect games you ever want to see. Gonzalez 0-2 ahead on the off-speed offering. And in that 1-0 Japan win over Korea, neither team made an error. Neither team made a circus catch. They were all prepared on every pitch. Defensively, they were perfect. And if you're a baseball purist and enjoy defense, hit and run, advancing the runners, the proponents of small ball, you'll love to watch this Korean team. Mexico's totally the opposite. They'll try to beat you to death with their bats.
And they can.
And they did in Mexico City. As a team, Mexico hit .346. Castilla's bunch hit 12 home runs, but had a collective team ERA of 10.74. That's not going to get it done. And of course, a much more difficult place to hit home runs here at Petco Park than Foro Sol Stadium.
If you had asked Vinny Castilla before that first round, you're going to have an ERA over 10 here in Foro Sol. He says, well, our hitters need to beat that.
They did, barely, outscoring the opposition 41-37.
Always very positive, Vinny Castilla, rightfully so, former slugger.
To right field, and that looks like that's going to drop in, but no, it just does hook foul at the last instant. At Foro Sol last week, a record 26 home runs were hit in 6 games, roughly 4.5 home runs per game. Last year at Petco Park, one of the most difficult places to hit home runs, the Padres and their opposition averaged about 1.6 home runs per game. So Vinny may be saying all the right things, thinking that his team can continue its power surge here. The numbers would suggest otherwise. Just inside 2-2. Ryu pitched for the Korean Olympic champions last year. And there's a shot to center field. But right there, perfectly positioned, is Jung-Wook Lee. And that's the second out.
What'd you say again? Perfectly positioned? It's what you were just talking about.
Well, it takes 2 to tango. That is to suggest the pitcher needs to pitch where his catcher is asking him to pitch. And as a result, the defense will play accordingly. And you will see that based on recent history. Play after play and pitch after pitch. They're remarkable in that regard. Speaking of remarkable, Adrian Gonzalez, couple of home runs, 7 RBIs last week. Had a great year in San Diego last season.
Charlie, they study a lot, and they admit that. They study so much. Look at the second baseman and where he's playing Adrian Gonzalez. Think they know some things?
Usually you see that on artificial turf. Well, one of the things that Adrian does not do well, almost every other aspect of his game is well above average. Doesn't run all that well, so they can afford to play back, and that they do. Gonzalez with 36 home runs last year for San Diego.
Manager In said Kim was so complimentary of Major League Baseball and why they prepare so well. I think Major League Baseball needs to take a look at how they prepare in Korea.
Here's the 1-2. Just outside, 2 balls and 2 strikes.
This is coordination. Watch this. As the ball's being delivered, if it misses away, you got people moving in that direction.
Nothing seems to get past these guys. A 2-2 down the first base line. Fielded by Kim, runs to the bag, and the inning is over. A perfect 1-2-3 inning. It's Korea's turn to hit when we come back. So a perfect first half of the first for the Korean club, and now it's their turn to hit. Taekyun Kim, the cleanup hitter, had a big year last year in Hancho when he hit .324 with 31 home runs, 92 runs batted in, and finished 3rd in the Korean MVP balloting. Generally speaking, Korea does not score a lot, but nor do they give up very many runs. In fact, all 3 of their wins in the first week of the World Baseball Classic back at the Tokyo Dome, they won by way of shutout. Jung-wook Lee, the center fielder, leads off. 3 for 12 in the first round. Had 2 RBIs. Jorge Cantu inside the cutout at 3rd. And it's 1 ball, no strikes. Jung-wook Lee, Hyun-wook Jun, and Hyun-soo Kim will hit, and it's slapped foul down the left field line. Oliver Perez, a week ago tonight in Mexico City, really struggled. In 2 innings, 4 runs and 7 hits, 5 strikeouts and a walk. And a call strike. And Perez is one of those guys, when he is good, he is as good as anybody. But he has been inconsistent throughout his career.
And if he can get that call behind home plate from Joe West consistently tonight, outer half, he's going to be very good.
Head on the count, the 1-2. Breaking ball, slapped foul up the 3rd baseline. Past the 3rd base coach, Roo Jung-il.
Perez played 6 batters in the very first inning against Australia back on March 8th. And the first 3 batters, single and 2 home runs before he retired the next 3.
Remains with the Mets, having signed a 3-year free agent contract over the winter. And the lefty who came up with the Padres into the Pirates, and now the Mets, fouled off to the left and out of play.
This is a frustrating at bat for Oliver Perez because he has thrown everything out there, and Lee keeps fouling off by waiting on the ball, being short to the ball, and not being afraid of getting jammed, as we see Mexico adjusting defensively now, shifting more towards left center field.
There's a hole right up the middle behind Oliver Perez as Augie Ojeda swung way over. The outfield plays Lee to hit the other way. The 1-2 outside and low, 2 balls and 2 strikes.
The one thing I would not do if I'm Oliver Perez right here, I wouldn't give him too much credit. They have to beat me tonight with my fastball. That is the one pitch I'm trying to establish, find the location, because he has a very good one, but sometimes he falls in love with other stuff and cannot establish a rhythm and a good release point, Charlie.
And like most of the Korean hitters, Jung-wook Lee has very little power. Did not hit a home run last season in his homeland. Hit .301, contact hitter, just inside. Oliver Perez must be frustrated by now.
There's that pattern he falls into sometimes, trying to the leadoff guy. after him.
This will be the 8th pitch of the at-bat for Jung-wook Lee. He was on the Olympic champion team last year in Beijing. Perez on the 8th pitch of the at-bat. So Oliver Perez has to take a deep breath. Playing behind him defensively tonight, Jorge Cantu and Augie Ojeda on the left side of the infield. The brothers Gonzalez on the right. The brothers Hairston, Scott and Jerry in left and center. Christian Krasici is in right field. Veteran Rod Barajas behind the plate. And the 28-year-old Oliver Perez on the hill. Now Kyun-Woon Jung. He's the second baseman. And he fouls it back, and it's 0-1.
That's it. Until they meet with a fastball, there's no way I'm going to be inventing or testing around with my breaking ball. It should be more of a show me pitch to set up the fastball. Missed down with his breaking ball. Nothing else for now.
Jung hit .314 in the past season.
Good idea to keep an eye on Jung-wook Lee at first. He can fly. He stole 47 bases in Korea last season.
And Jung, the hitter, stole 40. So there's speed at the top of their lineup. And it's popped up into short right center field. That's going to be trouble, but a beautiful over-the-shoulder catch by Edgar Gonzalez.
Does this not look like a guy that knows exactly where he's playing? Where it's Petco Park, you know exactly how many steps to take behind the cutoff. He knows the lights, how they play. Oh my goodness, ole.
And he also had to be aware of the right fielder Krasici, who was recently added to the club. What with the injury to Uribe Durazo, broke his wrist when hit by a pitch last week. And Alfredo Amezaga twisted his knee last week and returned to the Florida Marlins camp. And the Marlins here is going to be out for a month and a half. Now Hyun-Soo Kim is the batter. For instance, we'll talk about the power or lack of for this Korean team. Here's a number 3 batter in the lineup who hit 9 home runs last year, but he also hit .357 and was second in Korea's MVP voting.
In-Sik Kim, his manager, calls him a proficient hitter.
Well, that's proficient. That's a base hit into left field. First and second with 1 out. They're not going to bludgeon you to death, Korea. They will paper cut you to death.
And most times that hurts even more. You see how the lefties are staying in on Oliver Perez? It's only a sign of feeling comfortable against him and knowing that whatever they have studied, he has not pitched inside to the lefties enough. Out over the plate.
This is their power hitter. First baseman Tae-Kyun Kim, who blasted 31 home runs last year, 92 runs batted in, and hit .324. A home run, 6 RBIs. Last week at the Tokyo Dome. In talking with the Korean manager yesterday, and he stayed around and talked to everybody until every question was answered. But the biggest concern he had coming in was jet lag. Said his team is about back to normal now, and in terms of time change, it's a half a world away, and it's 12-13 hour difference on the body clock. So they played a couple of exhibition games this past week in Arizona.
He made the comment of, I think we were actually falling asleep during one of those games.
Ground ball to short. Bobbled briefly, but still plenty of time to convert the 6-4-3 double play. Ojeda to Gonzalez to Gonzalez. Scoreless after 1. The Cowboy Joe West calling balls and strikes tonight. The 56-year-old veteran entering his 31st season in the major leagues. Juan Rodriguez, Bill Miller, and Paul Heineman are the other umpires on the base paths. Jorge Cantu had a very solid first week down in Mexico City. 6 out of 18 with a home run and 5 runs batted in. Cantu, Scott Hairston, and Jorge Vasquez will hit in the second inning.
Well, Charlie, and Cantu can be the difference. That's the guy I will pick to really be the clutch guy at the plate for Mexico this round. He needs to hit. He saw the ball real well in Mexico City. Was telling me about adjustments to his swing, which really paid off. A big way, going deep there against South Africa.
Hein Robb was the pitcher who surrendered that home run, 16 years old.
I think you came away with the impression there's many of the players we've seen so far don't even shave.
That's never been an issue for Jorge Cantu, however. Drills a base hit into left.
Well, the adjustments he was talking to me about that he had made at the plate are to be shorter to the ball. A shorter step to the ball and a quicker pass to the ball. Here it is.
When you say short for the casual baseball, what does that mean?
That means you don't have a looping swing trying to lift the ball even though you're a power hitter. You train yourself with a batting tee and with soft toss to get there quicker. There's no loop in this. Check it out. Hands go back. Hands go right through the strike zone.
Head down. The eyes watching the ball make contact with the bat. Cantu's aboard, and Scott Hairston's been aboard 2/3 of the time in the first 4 games of the World Baseball Classic, along with 8 walks and 4 hits. A .667 on base percentage, and it's a strike. Scott, the younger brother of Jerry Hairston. Who was that masked man?
Lucha Libre. It's El Santo.
Jorge Vasquez on deck, and it's hot.
You know El Santo very well. Santo goes back to the 40s, man. He was a popular figure in Mexico who wrestled and made hundreds of movies, but nobody's ever seen his face.
Then how do we know it's him?
You see the mask, maybe.
The 2-0 up the middle, and this is going to be a tailor-made double play. But no, it's not. You know, Jung may have made a mistake, the second baseman. He might have been better served making the play himself, but that little backhanded flip to park the shortstop cost him time. Hairston runs too well, and a double play is avoided.
That's why Jung is hearing about it right now from Park. You have momentum already going that way. It actually cost the shortstop Park steps coming across the bat. And let's not forget about the effort by Scott Hairston.
Now Jorge Vasquez, a career Mexican leaguer, designated hitter, takes a strike and is 0-1. Vasquez and the veteran Uribe Barrazo were platooning in the DH spot until Durazo was hit by a pitch, broke his wrist, and ended his appearances in the WBC.
Very unfortunate, Charlie, for Durazo, who is looking forward to perhaps putting on a good show here and showcase his talents again for an opportunity to play overseas or to get a chance to get to the big leagues.
0-2 to Vasquez. In game 1, inning 1, a week ago tonight, Vasquez with Australia up 3-0. Gave Mexico a 4-3 lead as he hit the grand slam. Mexico would score 5 in the first and then just absolutely get waffled by Team Australia 17-7. The Aussies set a record 22 base hits in that game. And there's a line drive base hit into left field. First and second and 1 out. So the inability of Korea to turn the double play allows Mexico an extra out. They're in business, first and second and 1 out.
I like the approach they have taken so far against Drew here this inning. Nobody's looking for the long ball. I think they've made the adjustment, understanding that this ballpark plays very true. It's not, if not a little unfair for the hitters. But no long swings. Everybody just staying within themselves, looking for the ball, making contact.
Under the best of circumstances, it's a very difficult proposition to hit a home run here at Petco Park. At night, with the heavy air, the sea breeze, it is a virtual impossibility. Rod Barajas is the hitter, and he takes a strike, and it's 0-1. In the major leagues during the regular season, pitchers love to pitch here. Hitters can't get out of here fast enough. Barajas 2 for 2 in the World Baseball Classic this year. Swings and misses.
And that's what's made Adrian Gonzalez, Charlie, so special playing in this ballpark, and the numbers he's able to put up. Unbelievable.
And so the Padres, as they build a club year after year, try to figure out how best to do it. For them, generally, it's been pitching and defense.
Easier said than done, but your scouting needs to find players that it doesn't matter where they play. Gap hitters.
You need athletes and fellows with speed to play here to cover all that ground in the outfield. Barajas swings and misses, and that's the first strikeout of the game for Ryu, and they're 2 gone.
Barajas hadn't seen action since just about a week ago in Mexico City. Blue. And right now he looks out of sync.
Well, Ryu didn't do him any favors either as Christian Rizici steps into the batter's box. Rizici, 6 feet 200 pounds. He's from the Baja Peninsula, a 10-year veteran of Mexican baseball. Added to the roster after the injuries to Durazo and Alfredo Amezaga. A breaking ball for a strike, 1-1. Scott Hairston leading from second. Jorge Vasquez from first with 2 out in the second inning. Korea had a couple of runners aboard in the bottom of the first, failed to score. Now Mexico with a mini threat of their own in the top of the second. Outfield very deep for Perez. As he fouls it off to the right.
One thing that should happen, especially now with 2 outs, is I'd like to see the runner at second base, Scott Hairston, be more aggressive on his secondary leads. In other words, there's nobody around him defensively. The shortstop is way over to the right. And with 2 outs, get a good secondary lead, get behind the line of the base path, and anticipate a single.
Under the knees, 3 balls and 2 strikes. Meanwhile, Ryu, next pitch will be his 40th. Remember the pitch count in the second round of the World Baseball Classic, the maximum is 85.
Well, he only made 43 in his start March 6th against Chinese Taipei. That was in 3 innings.
Well, here comes the 40th in the second inning. Low ball 4. There's going to be more to come. The bases are loaded.
He seems a little out of sync. Actually, a little rattled. Watch his delivery. Giving his hat pull off of that.
So Augie steps into the batter's box. Ryu is struggling here in the first couple of innings. Ojeda, product of Los Angeles. And Augie takes a stride. You know him well.
Very good player. He is one of those players that's dirty in terms of leaving the field dirty. He takes a lot of pride in.
Came up with the Cubs in 2000, played with the Twins, the Arizona Diamondbacks now. Last year with the D-backs at 242. And he has just given the Mexicans a 1-0 lead and a 2-0 lead. Augie Ojeda drops one in short left field. Hairston and Vasquez come in to score. The inability to turn the double play, then the 2-out walk gives Mexico an opportunity, and Ojeda cashes in.
All little things and how they matter more when you play in a ballpark like this one. Over a plate, he gets a hold of a changeup. The strike zone beautifully. And with those 2 outs, you're gonna go on contact, making it very easy for the runner Vasquez at second base. And with all that, Charlie, you know, the at-bats have been superb, and it was follow the leader, and I mentioned Cantu because it seems like every time Cantu has a good at-bat, comes up with a big hit, there's more following, and they need that.
You see the 43 in the dugout. That's the pitch count. And again, in the World Baseball Classic, the pitch count is so vitally important, especially for starting pitching. But here's Mexico capitalizing on a couple of very uncharacteristic mistakes by In-Sik Kim's team. A double play ball that they only got 1 out, and then a walk with 2 out, and then the clutch hit by Ojeda.
I refer to how they got to keep his emotions in check. He's young, he's a lefty, he's super talented, and he's losing a little bit of that edge right now. Mexico smells it.
Well, we saw in game 1 today, Dallas Chapman, a 21-year-old prodigy, and his pitch count was a product also of his youth and his inability to keep his emotions in check.
Chapman was only able to go 50 pitches today.
Cuba, which was shut out by Japan, will play the loser of tonight's game tomorrow night, and one of those 2 teams will go home on Tuesday morning.
One thing I noticed with Ryu is every time he delivers a pitch, and this is a bad habit, he looks at the left field screen, the scoreboard, to watch his velocity. That creates a distraction for you mentally, because sometimes you think you have 95 and the scoreboard flashes 91, and you all of a sudden say, I just don't have it tonight.
Or the other thing is sometimes pitchers will pitch to their vanity. You know, hey, I got to throw harder because it looks better on the scoreboard. They'll never admit it, but you know it's true.
Happens all the time at every level.
1 and 2 with 2 out. Persici leads from second, Ojeda from first. Jerry Hairston bounced to third base in his first at bat. And so the Mexicans on 3 base hits And a walk, have an early 2-0 lead. The 1-2. High, 2 balls and 2 strikes.
There he goes, taking a glimpse at the fastball and the miles per hour. If that gets into your head, it's a big problem.
There have been managers and general managers who have told their stadium ops people, shut down the radar. We don't want or need to see it. Call strike 3. That ends the inning. But it was a tough inning for Ryu and a good inning for Mexico. 2-0. Korea trailing by 2 as we head to the bottom of the second, and their 5, 6, and 7 hitters are coming up. All by the name of Lee. Dai-Ho Lee, Bum-Ho Lee, and Young Q Lee.
If it works, why mess with it?
Mr. Lee, this one is 3 out of 8. In the World Baseball Classic, the designated hitter tonight. And it's a strike. That's the lineup. And there are the Lees with a couple of Kims. 4 Lees, 2 Kims. 2 Parks. Actually 3 if you count Petco.
Where did you come up with that one? It's not. You didn't think about Petco Field or anything like that?
There's a big sign above the scoreboard that's about as big as from here to the Mexican border. It says Petco Park.
I found another one. The park within the park. The one in center field.
Now I'm utterly confused. Going to be an easy play for Persici. 1 out. Take a look at the dimensions here at Petco. Down the line, 336 in left. Power alley to power alley was really it's wide open space. And in the right field corners, 322 feet. You see that little jutting out in the right field corners known as the jury box, which actually is about 325 feet there. But what that causes more than anything else are the erratic hops off the wall. And so you may see more triples in this ballpark than most other places, not unlike, for instance, Coors Field in Denver.
And just on the other side of that jury box, as you call it, there's a corner that's totally obscure. The first base coach can't even see it.
See how it juts right out into that corner there? That's going to be a home run. Way back, and it is gone, and Korea has gotten on the board. Bum-Ho Lee has tied the score. I beg your pardon. It brings Korea to within 1. It's 2-1.
This place is rocking right now after that rocket up the bat of Bum-Ho Lee. A veteran of the 2006 World Baseball Classic delivers again.
Last season for the Hanwha Eagles. In 125 games at 19 home runs.
As you notice, they also have their style and flair. Watch this.
Korea, which hit 4 home runs at the Tokyo Dome last week. hits one out. We saw no home runs in the first game. In fact, when Japan shut out Cuba 6-0, 11 of Japan's 12 base hits were singles, like that one from Young Kyu Lee.
They play the game one speed and one speed only. Charlie, just like they play catch, they force you to play catch. That's like a pitcher loading up there with that leg swinging back.
That a lot out of the Asian hitters, and we remember, of course, Sadaharu Oh, the all-time home run champion. And when we first laid eyes on Sadaharu Oh in the 60s and the 70s, it was such an unusual look, that high leg kick. Most of the Japanese players employ that mechanism. So too the Koreans.
It's a culture that really, when it comes down to exercising, it's a lot about balance. Look at the balance. He's on one leg, but the back leg is bent.
And we see that with the Asian. Well,
that's right.
They have that pause about halfway in their lineup or into their windup. And a strike.
Well, consider balance at the plate, balance on the mound keeps your head steady. And you're looking at a moving object. And you're looking at an object that you're throwing. But you're looking at a target. The steadier your head, the better chance of connecting or throwing.
American players will counter and say it takes away their momentum in the follow through of either a swing or a throw.
It's always been explained to me this way. You're going to take a punch. First you load up and go back. With your hands, with your arms, right? Well, they take it to the next extreme. They say, well, why just the upper body? Let's use the lower body. No problems at all with it.
Certainly worked for Bum Ho Lee with a home run here in the second inning, followed by a single from Young Kyu Lee. Now Kyung-gon Park is the batter.
One thing they also do is they fashion the uniforms in a way that provokes aggressive base running. Well, they have padded thighs in the uniforms, especially for the guys that run. Look at that. Backside is padded to avoid a lot of strawberries. And you see the other side is not padded because guys have a tendency to slide on one leg or the other.
That's one of those things that makes too much sense, and why didn't somebody think of it sooner?
You're absolutely right.
Here's a 2-2. Foul past third base coach Ru Jung-il.
Charlie, it's one of those things where somebody said, it's not a good idea, until then they see it and they go, that was my idea. Why didn't I come up with it?
It's like the guy who came up with the invention of wheels on a suitcase. What took so long?
Talk about customizing an outfit.
Adrian Gonzalez at first base, holding on Young Kyu Lee. Adrian, Gold Glove first baseman with the Padres.
Think there's enough padding in that elbow?
He's got that armadillo on the elbow.
People were all over Barry Bonds for what he used to wear, but the Koreans are not far behind in protection.
Two runs and 3 hits for Mexico. 1 run, 3 hits for Korea, with 1 out in the home half of the second. Rod Barajas, the Mexican catcher, and Kyung-On Park is the Korean catcher. He'll be 37 in July. First strikeout for Perez. It's his 2nd out of the inning.
And it came on what? Number 1. Establish that fastball. Let it rip. I mean, just throw it as hard as you can.
Blew it past Park. And here's Ki Hyuk Park. Swing and a miss. Well, you're right. They're not hitting his fastball. When he starts throwing the wrinkles up there, that's when Korea can better time his pitches.
What happens is when you start throwing the wrinkle, you are speeding up their bats. On the fastball, you're slowing down their bats.
Park, the shortstop with the Lotte Giants, managed by former American major leaguer Jerry Royster. Park is another one of these high average, low power producers. Last season hit .291 with but 1 home run. And of course a Gold Glover. Everybody on Korea's a Gold Glover. Or so it seems. Here's the 0-2, high and outside. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Charlie, maybe that's the way they start the recruiting action, by saying who can catch the ball. Let's go from there.
It doesn't matter the sport. In championship games, it's always defense that comes to the fore. Whether it's American football, those defensive struggles late in the season. In basketball, the scores inevitably go down in the playoffs. Hockey, the hot goaltender. Baseball, pitching and defense.
And there's an example clearly here in the World Baseball Classic. So the Dominican Republic team looked at one thing: offense, to build their team. Well, you know what? 6 errors later, 221 offense. They're gone.
Upset by the Netherlands. The Netherlands knocked out by the Americans tonight. So Team USA lives to play another day. Big swing and a foul back.
I can tell you, if Oliver Perez is living right now at 91, 92, the more he throws his fastball, I would not be shocked to see a 93, 95 as the game goes along. But he needs to throw it.
Park is 2 for 12 in the World Baseball Classic over the past week. And it's inside. Throw down to second base. Safe at second base. Barajas double clutched. And Young-Kyu Lee with the stolen base.
Well, look at this. The late steal. That's what you do when the catcher is putting his head down and the middle infielders are not paying. Puts his head down. Oh, guess what? He's going. Another art that has disappeared. The delayed steal in baseball.
Well, now a base hit by Park. And Korea could tie the score. So that stolen base very important. Let's see if Perez can eradicate that. Nope. 3-2. Another aspect about this Korean team, besides the defense and the pitching, the speed. pretty near everybody in their lineup can steal a base. Count is full. The leadoff hitter, Jung-Wook Lee, is on deck. This Korean contingent here at Petco. Runner goes. Ground ball up the middle. Edgar Gonzalez throws to his brother and it gets past, and the score is tied. Park goes to second base. A throw out at second. But on the play, Korea ties the score. Korea with a home run and an infield error, and we're all tied at 2. He had more time than he thought. Edgar did, and here's Edgar Gonzalez with a chance to make up for the error that allows Korea to tie the score. Brother Adrian on deck. Jorge Cantu to follow. Tied at 2. Top of the 3rd. Breaking ball whacked to third base. So clean. So effortless. And that's the first out of the 3rd.
Actually, Charlie, this reminds me of the first game we saw Mexico play against Australia, in which there's a confusion defensively. And it happened to involve the Gonzalez brothers a couple of times.
See how the third baseman, Bumho Lee, just into his glove.
Nothing fancy. It's not a highlight film that they're looking for. It's outs, however they come. But let me tell you, once in a while, you'll see something spectacular on the field.
Usually it doesn't have to be spectacular for them because they're so perfectly positioned seemingly on every play. You see the ball into the glove and the throw gets there. There's no hot dog in that team whatsoever. Team Korea, the defending Olympic champions. 1 ball and 1 strike for Adrian Gonzalez, the 61-year-old manager of Team Korea. In-Sik Kim, he managed their WB. Ooh, that'll leave a mark. No play. And the Korean trainer immediately comes out.
Off the bat of Adrian Gonzalez. Listen in. From the sounds of it, it seems like it got a lot of his shoe. And hopefully that is the case against his talented left-hander. When we talk about their fielding and with lefty to throw this hard, usually, Charlie, their follow-through is not one of their best assets.
Take a couple of warm-ups just to make sure he is okay and his follow-through is in sync. One of the great pitchers in Major League history, Dizzy Dean, was hit by a comebacker in an all-star game. Altered his mechanics over the next few weeks because he just didn't feel right. Ruined his arm and ended his career. So it's very important to land properly, have that follow-through.
You want a clear path towards home plate.
And you don't want, you don't want any undue pressure on the elbow or the shoulder. You don't want to be compensating. Now you see the pitch count up to 54. Remember, 85 is the max in the 2nd round of the World Baseball Classic. Cantu single to left in his first at bat. He's 7 for 19 in the World Baseball Classic as he fouls it back and out of play, and it's 0-1.
I saw nothing wrong with his last pitch and its delivery, so he might be a little numb on where he got hit, but very fluid.
Tied at 2, 1 out in the third, and Cantu way out in front as Ryu pulls a string.
Okay, where did that come from?
Ryu turns 22 in 10 days. He's 14-7 last season for the Hanwha Eagles off the end of the bat.
We hear so many arguments in big league baseball about if a pitcher should win the MVP in the league. Well, guess what? He's 21 and he already won one in the Korean Baseball Organization. MVP.
In the Olympics last year in Beijing, had an ERA of 104. 13 strikeouts in 17 innings and had a 2-0 record as Korea would win the gold medal and beat Cuba.
He's the one pitcher I was going to go to that Cuba just can't get out of their minds about how close they came.
Drilled to left field, but it is hooking foul.
I mean, Charlie, we talked to the Cubans about that back in Mexico City, and they can describe pounds on foul. They can describe the last play by pitch. Turned by Korea with the bases loaded in Gurriel hitting.
1 out in the 9th, a 1-run game. Korea and Cuba. And Gurriel, probably the best all-around player on the Cuban team, bounces into an inning-ending, game-ending double play. In the dirt, blocked nicely by the catcher, Petco Park. Pitches from extinction, at least on this night for Ryu. Had a very difficult second inning when Mexico would score 2. The inability to turn a double play really would hurt Korea, extend the inning, and Cantu now goes down. That's the 3rd strikeout for Ryu. It's a 2nd out of the 3rd.
Well, he might be only 21, but what he just showed me right here is the ability then to go to something. Changeup. This inning, just marvelous rotation. Stays on the same plane as his fastball, but it tails and fades enough to get you out front.
And he's 21. Scott Hairston got a board on a force out in his first at bat and would come around to score. Adrian Gonzalez is not a threat to steal a base. Hairston knows Petco Park well. Had 17 home runs last year, and every time you looked in the paper it was a home run in the 7th or 8th inning, it seemed.
Came up big, just like he came up big for Mexico.
Scott, the younger brother of Jerry Hairston. Jorge Vasquez on deck. Boy, he had Hairston's leg jiggling, didn't he?
Everybody's sitting fastball, and all of a sudden he finds something else in his back pocket. Look at the legs Charlie's talking about.
And then he comes back with a fastball just high. That's the first base umpire, Juan Rodriguez from Puerto Rico.
Yeah, we have an Aussie in the crew now. Paul Hyam, third base umpire.
And we have a cowboy behind the plate, Joe West. Drilled to left field. Hairston with a clean, hard line drive single with 2 out. He smoked that one.
Well, Charlie, I think you and I are not used to this station-to-station baseball for the first round in Mexico. Boy, I never seen so many guys have to stop in the next base.
Well, again, about the only fly in the ointment of Adrian Gonzalez is his inability to run. And now it looks like the end of the line for Ryu. That line drive was more than enough for manager In-Sik Kim to see. And so the pitching coach is coming out, and so too is Ryu. We'll come back. 2 on, 2 out in the third. 2-2 our score. Well, the Mexicans, who took a 2-0 lead in the top half of the second, Correa would come back and tie it. Now they threaten to regain the lead, and the 30-year-old right-hander Hyunwoo Jung, coming off a career year last year for the Samsung Lions, a record of 10-4, and in the World Baseball Classic has yet to give up a run. Jorge Vasquez, the grand slam in game 1 a week ago tonight down in Mexico City. Now he's got 2 on and 2 out. Takes high, 1 ball, no strikes.
Jung is a power pitcher. As I saw him warming up, there's a lot of wiggle with his glove and his pitching hand to try to create confusion because he also has a split finger.
Vasquez doesn't run a lick, so this is going to be an easy play, and it is. No runs, 2 hits, 2 left. After 2.5, Mexico and Korea are tied at 2. Somehow when you come to San Diego, you don't expect it to be chilly. Game time temperature was 57. It's going down some. But again, we're right on the Pacific Ocean, and the cool breeze is blowing in and makes life that much more difficult for the hitters, and a nice easy hop for Augie Ojeda. And on 1 pitch, Jung-Wook Lee is retired, and more pitching efficiency now from Oliver Perez. Keep up with all the latest World Baseball Classic news and stats, and visit the official online shop of the World Baseball Classic at www.worldbaseballclassic.com. Here you will find the largest selection of authentic World Baseball Classic items for all 16 countries, including clubhouse gear, t-shirts, jerseys, and more. Right from the source, worldbaseballclassic.com.
Charlie, I gotta take a look at your collection, man. Maybe I'll buy some stuff from you.
Hey, check it out. Check it out.
Hey, check it out, man.
Hyunwoo Jung popped to second base in his first at-bat, and that really kind of doesn't sell the play that was made by Edgar Gonzalez, a little bloop into short right field. And Edgar Gonzalez made a beautiful over-the-shoulder catch. Jung, the second baseman for Korea, pops it up in basically the same place as he did the first time. An easier play this time for Edgar, 2 out.
Could this be the easiest inning that Oliver Perez has after using more of his fastball? Well, he needs it. His team needs it even more.
Well, he's yet to retire the Koreans in order. But now if he's able to get Hyun-Soo Kim, the left fielder, who singled into left in his first at-bat, mission will be accomplished for the 28-year-old veteran Oliver Perez. Last year with the Mets, Perez was 10-7, had an ERA of about 4.25. And a strike, 0-1. Vinny Castilla, one of the most popular players in Mexican baseball history, had a great career primarily with the Colorado Rockies. Here comes the 0-1. Outside and low.
Vinny is a class act. He has handled every type of pressure like a former big league would.
After Mexico, was flattened in game one last Sunday night, 17-7. The newspapers just ripped him apart on Monday morning. He said his team would bounce back. They did. They're here, and they're tied at 2 with 2 out in the bottom of the third as Perez delivers. Perez with a little delay in his motion. And it's his first 1-2-3 inning. We head to the fourth. Rod Barajas leads off in the fourth inning. Correa with double barrel action in the bullpen. Beyond the wall in deep left center field. Barajas struck out swinging in his first at bat. Swing and a miss.
Charlie, the lefty is Won-Sam Jang. And the righty is Tae-Hyun Chong.
Barajas, Perez, and Ojeda will hit here in the fourth inning, and Barajas is struck out for the second time tonight. First down of the fourth inning.
Breaking ball up. Is off. He hasn't played in a while, practically a whole week.
Almost got the head red, and then there came that high curveball and was down swinging. Christian Perez was added to the Mexican roster after Uriel Durazo and Alfredo Amezaga went down with injuries. Perez, 28 years of age, and a nice, easy hop for Park, who throws to Kim, and there's 2 out.
Well, just how we saw in that second inning how Mexico scored their runs on a mental mistake. This ball game has every trait to make us think it's going to come down to that. One single play here tonight.
With 2 out, nobody on, Augie Ojeda steps into the batter's box. Look from the best seats in the house. Ojeda drove in both Mexican runs with 2 out in the second inning. Just saw the inability to turn the double play that allowed the inning to extend. Perez right in front of Ojeda, then walked. And then when Ojeda slashed a single to left field, Scott Hairston and Jorge Vasquez came in to score. Mexico took a 2-0 lead, but Correa would bounce back with a deuce of their own in the second. A home run by Bumho Lee, a single by Young Kyu Lee, stolen base, and would come in on an error. So we're tied at 2. Breaking ball, ground ball. And an easy play and a 1-2-3 inning for Hyun-Wook Jung. 2-2. We head to the bottom of the fourth. While Mexico has out-hit Korea 5-3, the score is tied at 2 as we head to the bottom half of the fourth. And Oliver Perez has settled down after a shaky second inning. He has retired 5 batters in a row. Tae-Kyun Kim, the first baseman, leads off. He bounced into a double play in his first at bat. Perez needed just 8 pitches to retire the Koreans in order in the bottom half of the third.
He has a live arm, and from that view, even livelier.
Got a sense of how fast that fastball came in.
And Charlie, a sense of how quickly you have to either decide I swing or no swing, ball or strike.
Fastball, curveball.
Oh my.
Where was the release point? In the first game, as the sun was setting and the shadows were cast on the field, it was an impossibility for both sides for about 2 innings to come anywhere near the ball. That's a deep fly ball to left field. That's way back. And at the wall, it is gone. A home run. Tae-Kyung Kim has given Korea a 3-2 lead.
Tradition. Look at the reception in the dugout. Follow the line. And it doesn't hide his emotions.
Well, Kim is the most legitimate power source on the Korean team. This past year, for the Hanwha Eagles, 31 home runs, 92 RBIs in 115 games.
And it barely made it over the wall to the first row. And as the ball was going and going and going, you mentioned the heavy air and the ocean breeze. That ball actually had a chance to stay in the ballpark at the very end.
Well, the ensuing fireworks has left a smoke. Lots of smoke. Well, this was hello.
All right, let's go. Fastball away, Charlie.
Smoke gets in your eyes. Well, you can see there's not a whole lot of wind blowing. Well, it was a nice, efficient third inning for Oliver Perez. He's off to a rocky start here in the fourth. Isn't it interesting? Here's Mexico that came into the second round of the World Baseball Classic. Team batting average down at Forosol Stadium in Mexico City at 346. On base percentage of 456. A record-shattering 12 home runs, and here's Korea with 2 home runs tonight. And they lead Mexico 3-2.
That is something they've been doing from the very first batter, Jong Wook Lee, battling off good pitches, just fighting it off, making Oliver think about more his second and third pitch.
Dae-Ho Lee flied to right field in his first at-bat, and Perez fools him, and that's the third strikeout of the game for Oliver. First out of the fourth.
Very few lefties in Major League Baseball have the stuff that Perez has. Here's a good example of it. Good breaking ball. Good fastball, a lot of life. But it's putting it all together, not just for one game, for consecutive outings.
That's been the story of his career. Initially came up with the Padres, then onto the Pirates, and he has Bung-Ho Lee fooled. And now, of course, Oliver's with the Mets. Bung-Ho Lee, his second home run of the World Baseball Classic. In his first at-bat in the second inning. And this one, he got all. So Korea favored to win this game tonight, just based on their most recent pedigree. They are the defending Olympic champions. Had a great run at the World Baseball Classic 3 years ago.
It was almost unfair, some of the members of the Korean delegation were saying after the first World Baseball Classic, because it's not like they had a losing record. They lost one tough game. And it was here in this ballpark against Japan.
Here's the 2-2. Outside and low, 3 balls and 2 strikes. Korea, and again, as we mentioned at the outset, based on pitching and defense, you expect them to be in low-scoring games. That's seemingly where they handle it best. Excuse me, swing. Edgar to Adrian. The brothers Gonzalez complete the out, 2 out.
They have also shown enough power. They scored 9 runs in a shutout against Chinese Taipei back on March 6th. Chinese Taipei, obviously, not as developed and didn't present a big challenge on the mound. But you make mistakes, I think they've shown, big league or not, they could hit it.
Korea in their 3 wins to advance to San Diego. All 3 shutouts. Young Kyu Lee, single to left field, stole a base and scored a run back in the 2nd inning. Kyung-gon Park is on deck. Third baseman Jorge Cantu in on the grass at third. And Lee with a 2-out single to center. 2 for 2 tonight. Vinny Castilla still has nobody warming in his bullpen. The incomparable Fernando Valenzuela. 2 of the most popular players, athletes for that matter, in Mexican sports history. Out of nowhere in 1981, Valenzuela showed up. Fernando Mania was born. Still a member of the Los Angeles Dodger organization. One of the broadcasters on the Spanish radio side with the great Jaime Jarrín and Pepe Eniguez.
Fernando, also a former Padre.
Toward the end of his career, he was a former a lot.
Former Oriole, former Angel.
Cardinal, Oriole. Cantu throws out Park, and that ends the inning. But the home run by Tai Kwon Kim has given Korea a 3-2 lead. The World Baseball Classic continues tomorrow at 8 o'clock Eastern Time. Venezuela and Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico, which routed Team USA yesterday, 11-1. Early termination. Still such a fatalistic sounding rule, but they just clocked the Americans, the Puerto Rican club did. Top of the order in the top of the 5th for Team Mexico. Jerry Hairston Jr. 0 for 2, pops it up. Who's going to call it? The first baseman will. Tai Kwon Kim. 1 out. Oliver Perez. Excuse me. It's on backwards, sir.
He's like, wait a minute.
Oops. That's the way things went for Perez in the 4th inning. Gives up the home run and can't get his shirt on straight. We've all been there.
Have we not? You know, And Oliver Perez keeps a pretty decent demeanor. He pitches in New York, okay? He pitches with the Mets.
Yeah, but the shirt can't be that hard. Foul back and out of play.
He just admitted that it could be.
I didn't say it was hard. He just had a rough time with it. We've all been there.
He never looks rattled at all. The pressure cooker pitching in New York.
Excuse me, so the sweatshirt has him off kilter?
It does.
Apparently.
Kilter, pressure cooker, whatever you want. What else do you want to throw in there? A kettle?
Edgar Gonzalez a single into left field with 1 out in the 5th. It's like 40,000 fans screaming at an umpire. How can you call it a strike? Then they go to the parking lot and they can't find the car.
The umpire says, only if I knew.
Edgar is at first base, and brother Adrian's coming up. We were talking about it the other night. The brilliant trade orchestrated by Padres general manager Kevin Towers a couple of years ago. Swing and a miss, 0-1. Getting the 6'9" Ivy League educated Chris Young, big right-hander. Adrian Gonzalez. And a fellow named Termel Sledge for Akinori Otsuka. A relief pitcher that once he got to Texas, it didn't work out too well.
When it worked out very well for Otsuka was here in 2006, getting the last out for Japan as they won the championship in the inaugural World Baseball Classic.
Gonzalez, 1 out of 2. In his last at bat, he lashed a line drive right off the foot of a Korean starter, Hun Jin-roo. Trainer came out, pitching coach came out, and the starter would get a couple of freebie warm-up tosses to make sure he'd be okay, and he was. Gonzalez takes low.
This is when Gonzalez is at his best. 1 for 2, smoked the ball as Cantu waits on deck. He's working a count, but he's looking middle in to unload on something.
And the count certainly in his favor. 3 balls and a strike and an out. His older brother, Edgar Gonzalez, leads off first, held on by Tai Kyun Kim. And there goes Gonzalez, and the throw too high, and Edgar steals a base. A good throw gets him.
It is a run and hit play, not a hit and run. You swing if you like it, if not you let it go, but the runner has to make an base, not to look in.
So now the count is 3-2. And the tying run in scoring position. And Adrian walks.
Excellent at bat. That's what he does to torment so many pitchers around the National League. Just wears them out. Sometimes Adrian Gonzalez can be, as you see him a lot, Charlie, like a contact hitter. Other times like a slugger. And sometimes he's hard to figure out.
And again, is there a better all-around left-handed hitter in the National League than Adrian Gonzalez? Adrian can hit for power, contact hitter, walks a lot. And manager In-sik Kim of Korea. But we may have a pitching change here. Korean pitching coach talking to the Cowboy, Joe West. And it looks like there's going to be a double switch in the process as well.
It appears like there's an injury to Jeong, who is limping off the field.
I wonder if he may have been spiked on that play at second base. No pitching change, but there is a change at second base.
He's going in to get treatment. I mean, he's picking up his bats and heading to the clubhouse.
Jorge Cantu is the batter. High and inside, 1 ball and no strikes. So maybe it was the left foot. Young Min Ko is the new second baseman. Oh, look at that backhanded play. Throw is wide. Everybody's safe.
Well, Bumhole lead takes an extra base hit away from Jorge Cantu. A 2-time Gold Glove winner. Look at the range to his right, but he's not able to find the right target at second base.
Never did plant his feet in making the throw. So now the bases are loaded. Characteristic error for the Koreans. And Scott Hairston, who's been such a clutch hitter in his days with the Padres here in San Diego, takes a strike, 0-1. Hairston 1 for 2 tonight and a run scored. So Mexico with a chance to tie the score and perhaps even take the lead here with the bases loaded and 1 out in the 5th. The brothers Gonzalez at third and second, Cantu at first, and Hairston takes low and outside.
John will bounce a forkball here and there. So the runner at third, Edgar Gonzalez, must be very aware.
Swing and a miss. Scott Hairston will turn 29 in May. A 5-year major leaguer. He's bounced around some already. Last year with the Padres, 17 home runs in 112 games, but with only 31 runs batted in. Double barrel action in the Korean bullpen. Mexico now getting its bullpen up. Exciting game. We're in the top of the 5th. Edgar Gonzalez at third, Adrian at second, Jorge Cantu at first. Here's a 2-2. Hairston swings and misses, and a fastball up and in, and probably out of the strike zone.
It was definitely out of the strike zone. This is when you're not familiar with somebody's stuff. Bullpen coming way at the end. He saw the arm body as he tried to adjust to the movement of the ball, but it was too late.
That's a big out for Korea, a painful out for Mexico. And now it's up to Jorge Vasquez, who's 1 out of 2 and a run scored. A career Mexican leaguer. Fouls it back.
There was a tumbling split finger pitch. There's Hairston. Back in the dugout. Unable to come through.
The woulda, coulda, shoulda. Vasquez is 5 for 15 in the World Baseball Classic. Takes one up and in. The winner of tonight's game gets tomorrow off. The loser of tonight's game will play Cuba tomorrow night. And the loser of that game goes home. Double elimination tournament. And the 1-1 is 1 ball, 2 strikes. Vasquez, big fella. Rod Barajas on deck. Manager Kim watches on. Foul ball. Jose Tolentino with the high wire act, the Mexican first base coach.
Yeah, good to see him wearing that helmet. Former player Jose Tolentino got some big league time with the Houston Astros.
Well, the base coaches are required to wear the hard hat. One and 2 to Vasquez. The bases are loaded with 2 out in the 5th. Jung delivers. This will end the inning. Easy play for Park. Throws a strike to Kim. And Team Mexico strands 3 after 4.5. The 9 1 and 2 hitters will hit for Korea as we head to the bottom half of the 5th inning.
Well, coaches waste no time in getting to their players as one of the coaches approaches the third baseman bomb hole lead. 2 consecutive Gold Gloves, but makes a wide throw to second base. And with his right hand, all I can see was he was probably telling him to read the second baseman a little bit better. In other words, second baseman coming across the bag, you cannot make that throw wide like it's going to be a force out.
As it turned out, it didn't cost the Koreans, as Hyun Wook Jung would strike out Scott Hairston and induce Jorge Vasquez to ground weakly to short. So Mexico, with a glorious opportunity to tie the score, fails to do so. Oliver Perez, in all likelihood, beginning his last inning of work, facing Ki-hyuk Park, who got aboard on an error. The error by Edgar Gonzalez, a bad throw to his brother Adrian, would allow Korea to tie the score at 2 in the second inning. They would take the lead in the bottom half of the 4th on a leadoff home run by their first baseman, Tae-Kyun Kim. 70 pitches now for Oliver Perez. 80 is the maximum in the second round of the World Baseball Classic. So this is the beginning of the end for him, and he delivers a strike to Park.
He must keep Korea exactly where they are. And that deficit for Team Mexico of just 1 run before he departs.
3 runs, 5 hits for Korea, 2 runs and 6 hits for Mexico. Each side has made an error. Park overthrows that fastball, and velocity now is beginning to decline some. That one at 89. But certainly a far better performance tonight than we saw a week ago tonight in the beginning of the World Baseball Classic down in Mexico City. Popped up, right side, long run for the brothers Gonzalez, and Edgar is there to make the catch. That's the first out of the 5th inning. Friends, this copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the World Baseball Classic Incorporated. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent. The veteran Ricardo Rincon is warming in the bullpen, and Elmer descends. Descends with an outstanding start in Game 2 for Mexico when they were faced with elimination. Descends went 6 innings in that game against South Africa. Mexico would rout the South Africans 14-3 that night. And Mexico scored 11 runs over the final 3 innings, so it was a close game until the 7th, and Elmer kept them in it.
Yeah, and I like what Vinny Castillo is doing here strategically. You want to have a guy that can go long on you at the Senswood, and the specialist in the left field Rincon.
5 more pitches left for Oliver Perez. Correction, 10, 85. 70 the limit in the first round, 85 in the second, and 100 in the third round.
Conceivably, he can get him out of this inning.
Drag bunt foul. Jean-Luc Lee has walked and bounced out. Had a great Olympics in Beijing. Would beat Cuba. Golfs one to left field. In comes Hairston.
Good read in left field by Scott Hairston on a slap swing. Usually when a guy slaps the ball, there's no reason to go back. You read forward, but look how close his hands are to the strike zone. That's how he's able to get to the ball shortly, lap and run, and still make good contact. And he can fly.
There's 2 out. There's a fly ball to left field and deep. It's way back there. And Rowe has hit it out. 4-2 Korea. Young Min Rowe, who came in to replace Jung at second base, he was injured, on his first swing, deposits one into the left field bleachers. Korea leads by 2. Their 3rd home run of the night.
Who says they only play small ball? Young Min Ko. First at bat comes in because of an injury. Go through the line, young man. Seems like he's in a state of shock.
Korea as a team hit 4 home runs last week in the first round at the Tokyo Dome. They have hit 3 here tonight in a place where it's nearly impossible to hit home runs. Young Min Ko.
There's a perfect example of somebody who was not in the game but was prepared.
Hoping the cool spring air in San Diego would keep the ball in. It didn't. With the pitching of Korea and their defense, 2 runs, especially in this ballpark, is a very large lead.
And for Ko, he had played 3 games, only had 3 at-bats, which makes me think he's a backup guy or a defensive specialist.
Well, either way, this will be the last batter Oliver Perez will face. So the 2-out walk to Kim. The end of the night of Oliver Perez. 4-2 Korea. A run in the bottom of the 5th. 2 out. The veteran right-hander Elmer descends. Enters the game. His team is down 2. 4-2. 2 out in the bottom half of the 5th. And Tae-Kyun Kim is bounced into a double play and has homered tonight. Kim, the 26-year-old slugger, 31 home runs. Elmer descends against South Africa, was outstanding in the elimination game on Monday down in Mexico City. Now his task is entirely different. Signed a free agent deal in the offseason with the New York Mets. Elmer's got a roadmap resume, beginning with the Pirates and the Reds and the Diamondbacks and the Dodgers and the Royals and the Brewers and the Rockies and the Braves. Next stop, New York. And a ground ball to short. Ojeda goes the short way to Edgar Gonzalez. Young Min Ko with a home run has given Korea a little bit of wiggle room. It's 4-2. We head to the 6th. The World Baseball Classic continues tomorrow night at Dolphin Stadium in Miami. Puerto Rico and Venezuela. Puerto Rico, of course, coming off the rout of the Americans yesterday. And tomorrow night, 8 o'clock in San Diego, 11 o'clock on the East Coast of the United States, Cuba will face tonight's loser. Cuba losing today 6-0, shut out by Team Japan. Scale model of the USS Midway, which is the real thing, is parked here in San Diego. You see the sign for Garcia referring to Kareem Garcia, who, when this tournament is over, he will ship ahoy. Not on that boat, but off to Korea playing for the Lotte Giants again.
If he goes on that boat, his season will start in mid-May.
Rod Barajas leads off. Hyun-Wook Jung, who came in the 3rd inning. And to this point, has given up just 1 base hit. He has struck out 2, and he has walked 1.
Charlie, he has closer stuff. Very deceiving, powerful, very efficient with his pitches. Pitches down.
92-mile-an-hour fastball up and in.
Of course, I can say closer stuff, but is he the same guy pitching in the middle of the game that he will be pitching later in the game? The mentality, we don't know.
Of course, a closer, all he needs is those final 3 outs. Yeah, that's easy. Barajas. And plenty of room for the 3rd baseman lead. 1 out. But obviously, if you're only responsible for 1 inning of work and hopefully no more than 3 batters, the mentality of a closer is considerably different than a middle reliever. As you look at the Mexican bullpen, who will be next?
Many think they have a closer in the waiting, and a kid named Francisco Rodriguez in that Mexican bullpen. Not the Venezuelan one.
The other one. Fastball upstairs, 1 ball, no strikes to Christian Pasici. Began the game in right field, move over to left. When the starter lefty Hyun-Jin Ryu came out of the game. Kareem Garcia was inserted in right field. And now on 1 ball and no strikes, looks like we're going to see a pitching change. We saw that in mid-count in game 1 by Genio Velez, the manager of Cuba. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, 4-2 Korea, top 6. So what if you're not inside the ballpark? Plenty of good seats still available outside the ballpark and a big screen television to watch. New pitcher for Korea, 30-year-old Tae-Young Chung. We were talking earlier about the final game for the gold medal in Beijing last year, where Cuba was down 3-2, had the bases loaded and 1 out. And Gurriel, their splendid second baseman, the hitter. It was this man, Tae-Young Chung, who induced that game-ending gold medal winning double play.
So we were just talking about pitching in the 9th inning and pitching in the middle of the game. Well, for In-Sig him, this means shut him down now.
Prasici is the batter. He's walked and bounced out. A little frisbee-like slider for a strike, and it's 1-1.
We can say Laredo, but this is coming down from Tijuana.
One ball and 2 strikes to Christian Prasici.
Watch his head.
Augie Ojeda is on deck. Just under the knees.
The reason I say watch his head, every pitcher has a distance between their arm and their ear. So the distance is that nobody that throws sidearm keeps their head straight up. So that's why he bends his head so much to keep that distance between the arm slot and his right ear.
Off the end of the bat and foul.
And that was told to me a long time ago. Let's see, about 29 years ago by a guy named Sandy Koufax. Says it doesn't matter where you throw from, there's always a natural distance between your ear and your hand. And as you change your arm slot, your head will follow. And what did he do exactly, Koufax?
They found a way into the Hall of Fame. 6 of maybe the best years any pitcher has ever had. Here's a 2-2. Just inside, 3 balls and 2 strikes. People forget that when Sandy Koufax retired after 66, he was just 30 years old.
And at one point, somebody had actually ridden him off. He's a good big league pitcher because he was so wild.
Koufax drilled to left and foul. Was a great all-around athlete growing up in Brooklyn. And when he went to the University of Cincinnati, he went on a basketball scholarship. And then, because he was such a great athlete, he played some high school baseball. He started to pitch at Cincinnati. The Dodgers found out about him, and this is before the days of the baseball draft, and he was a local product, and so the Dodgers signed him. And he was what was called then a bonus baby, which means he had to stay with the team throughout the 55 season. Fly ball center field, easy play for Jean-Luc Lee. 2 out. And he couldn't find home plate with a road map and a pair of binoculars. But along about 1958, when the Dodgers had just moved out to Los Angeles, and then on into 59, Dodgers had a catcher by the name of Norm Sherry. And one day it all kind of clicked. And from that point on, Sanford Koufax from Brooklyn became Sandy Koufax. And had to retire prematurely with a bad elbow. You know, had there been Tommy John surgery, Dr. Frank Jobe, who invented the Tommy John surgery, told me years ago, had we had that technology in 1966, Koufax would have been able to sit out 67 and come back in 68.
Just imagine.
That was 10 years before the Tommy John surgery.
You know, the starter for Korea tonight, Ryu, had Tommy John surgery in high school.
Now it has become in baseball so routine. Here comes the 0-1 to Augie Ojeda outside. Ojeda drove in the Mexicans' only 2 runs back in the 2nd inning. Mexico took a 2-0 lead in the top of the 2nd, but Korea came back with 2 of their own in the bottom of the 2nd. And then in the 4th and 5th innings, solo home runs by Tai Kyun Kim and Young Min Ro. And Korea's got the 4-2 lead.
You know, going back to Koufax, my dad Manny played for 20 years in the big leagues, and I asked him, toughest guy you ever faced? Stuff-wise, nobody better than Sandy Koufax. Meanness, Bob Gibson.
Well.
Says, I wanted no part of Bob Gibson or Koufax himself.
The 1-2 to Ojeda. Foul back and out of play.
You know, sometimes it seems like Mexico is so far away in this ballgame. Well, they're not. You know, a couple of bloopers here and there, a walk here and there, and putting pressure on Korea. Only a 2-run ballgame.
Mathematically, you're right on the money. But this Korean team, with its incredible pitching and even better defense, 2 runs is tough against these guys. All 3 of their wins in Japan came by way of shutout. So Chung comes in and gets the job done. And who would have thought coming into this game, Mexico, which swatted a dozen home runs last week in Mexico City, and Korea, which hit a grand total of 4 home runs, and one team would hit 3, it'd be Korea. Well, that's the way it's turned out. We go now to the bottom half of the 6th inning. Korea with the 4-2 lead. Dae-ho Lee, the designated hitter, descends, delivers, and Elmer quickly ahead. No balls and 2 strikes.
Dae-ho Lee, powerful swing, Triple Crown winner. Look at that, 2006.
Impressive numbers. You know, they didn't start playing Korean Major League Baseball until 1981. 6 teams began their major league. Actually, it was 82. The late in 81, they put it all together. 82, 6 teams. And then the league expanded to 8 teams in 1991. They've been playing baseball in Korea for a very long time. In fact, in 1905, an American missionary, Philip Gillette, first introduced the game in Korea. And so in less than 30 years, Korea has become a baseball powerhouse. As I said, they've been playing it for a long time, but professionally, it's relatively new. And it wasn't until 1997 that foreign players were allowed. And then in 2008, they beat the Cubans and won the gold medal. And now they're hoping for a World Baseball Classic championship. Dai-Ho Lee leads off with a single here in the bottom half of the sixth.
And Korea, Charlie, has become a safe haven for a lot of players that cannot get major league service, major league opportunities, and want to make more money than they would make in the minor leagues, as a case of Kareem Garcia himself.
A pinch runner at first base. Dai-Ho Lee's night is done.
A good night for the powerful slugger.
Tae-Kyun Lee is the runner at first base. One good lead deserves another.
There's plenty of leads to find in that bench. Why not use them?
Hey, Lee, I want you to pinch run. Who, me?
10 people look. 10 people turn their heads.
Here's Ho Lee.
Here's how they play the game. They're up by 2 runs, 6th inning. This guy connected a home run in the second against Oliver Perez, then grounded out to second. And what are they going for right now? The extra run. And they have a guy in the middle of their order squaring on a sacrifice bunt attempt. I mean, you look at how early he shows bunt, and they're not hiding their intentions. They're playing 1 run at a time, regardless of what you did in your first at bat.
And again, it's a product of their pitching and their defense. They're used to playing low-scoring games. Last year for the Hanwha Eagles, Ho Lee swatted 19 home runs and knocked in 77. Tonight he is homered and bounced to second base.
And even though you see Cantu, how tight he is, the intention is to bunt the ball to the right side with a man at first base.
Which he does, but foul.
And that is where mentally you can't get beat by what you see. In other words, many players would even call the third base coach and say, hey, are you sure you want me to do this? Look where the third baseman's playing. Yeah, I'm sure I want you to do this because you're supposed to bunt the ball to the right side. Make it tougher on a left-handed fielding first baseman to even think about making a throw to second base.
Again, we're talking about contrast in styles. This is something that Cuba would never even think about doing. Hit and run, perhaps. But with Jorge Cantu breathing into the face of the hitter, Lee. Again, contrast in styles of the way the game of baseball is played. 1-1. Now he swings away, and Cantu is lucky he still got his molars.
And you change the signs not early in the count, but later, after the team on the field stays with their same defensive alignment. That's a 5-4-3 if he's playing back, or he would have bunted if he's playing back. I mean, Charlie, you look at this team. They practiced that yesterday. We saw them practice it in batting practice today. But repetition is the key here.
That play is called the butcher board. where you're faking the bunt and then you swing away at the last instant. And Jorge Cantu must have seen his life flash before his eyes.
The minute that batter pulls the bat back, you freeze and pray. You know who was really good at that? Major League pitcher Oral Hershiser. Excellent batter.
You know who made a career out of that was Matty Alou.
With men on base or nobody on base.
Young Q Lee is now the hitter, and he's 2 for 2. And Cantu is in on the grass at third again, saying, "Oh no, not again." A perfect bunt. Descends has one play. Boy, do they play the game right or what? Second and third, one out. Sacrifice.
Well, they certainly give you a lot to think about. Besides running the base pass, stolen base attempts, hit and runs, butcher boys, sacrifice. I mean, look at the desperation here in just making this play. You can't make a mistake.
Now Vinny Castilla coming out.
Great job by Barajas, immediately pointing to Descend's. Go to first.
And Descend's night is done. New pitcher for the Mexicans. We'll tell you who it is when we come back. A long way from the ballpark. Well, now Rafael Diaz, when last we saw him pitch an inning and 2/3 on Thursday night and got lit up by Cuba. And now Mexico. This 2-run lead for the Koreans seems even larger just because of the way they pitched and played defense.
Diaz is a slider type pitcher.
Mexico can ill afford to surrender any more runs against this fundamentally sound Korean team. Beside the fundamentals and 4 runs and 8 hits, 3 of the 4 runs have come on solo home runs. Now a base hit can score 2 more, and the infield has been forced to come in. And a breaking ball up and in 3-0.
And that's where you're going to see from Diaz, but he must find a consistent release point to make the hitters flinch and not read the spin too early.
Foul back.
He was right on that fastball. He knows he missed a good one. That's why Diaz is not a fastball type pitcher. It's not good enough to get it by anybody, especially upstairs.
Rafael Diaz is 38 years of age, a 20-year veteran of the Mexican League. On 3-1. Outside and low ball 4, and the bases are loaded. And Vinny Castilla's club is flirting with disaster. Petco Park is the batter. Got a board on an error, actually produced a run in the second inning. And he popped to second base. Lee, and Park are the base runners. Tai-Kyun Lee is at third base. Bum-Ho Lee is at second base. And Kyun-Gon Park at first base. That is 1 ball and no strikes. Back.
Well, now first base occupied presents an opportunity for the middle infielders to move back and find every chance to play this slow grass at Petco Park and turn a double play. That will be a tremendous lift right now for Mexico.
get him out of the inning and keep him in the game. On the other hand, if Park can deliver, could be a knockout blow. Fouled off to the right. It's going to be out of play. 1-2. At the moment, the Korean batting order has 4 Lees, 2 Parks, 2 Kims, and a Ko. There they are. Park is batting, and wouldn't you know it, Lee's on deck. Well, that is a huge strikeout for Diaz. That's the second out of the inning.
And Diaz says, Senor Park, adios on that one. Bread and butter pitch, slider, low 3/4, well executed.
Well, this could be, as we look back on the game an hour or 2 from now, the biggest batter of the game. If Diaz can get Jung-Wook Lee out and Korea fails to score, keeps Mexico in the game. Yet if Lee with a base hit or more, Korea can grab control of the game. And so momentum, the lead, all of that combined on this at bat, which begins with a ball inside 1-0.
Charlie, momentum is a key word. One way or the other, this will swing it towards Mexico to get their confidence back, or towards Korea to say, we have this ball game, it's ours.
There are roughly 3 or sometimes as many as 4 moments in a ball game where momentum swings. And this is clearly one of them. To left field. And there is room for Perez, and that ends the inning. Good job for Diaz. Mexico's still in it. We head to the 7th, but they trail by 2. With Korea leading 4-2, Mexico with 2 runs and 6 base hits. Their only 2 runs came in the 2nd inning. Hairston and Vasquez came in when Augie Ojeda drilled a single to left field. Outside of that, the Mexico offense, which was so prolific down in Mexico City when they scored 41 runs, held to 2 runs and 6 hits tonight. Here's Karim Garcia, who knows many of these Korean players, as he is going to go over and play his 2nd season with the Lotte Giants as soon as the Mexican run at the World Baseball Classic comes to an end. This is his first at bat tonight.
I noticed as they were on the line for the national anthems and presentation before the game, how many Korean players tipped their caps to Karim Garcia. It was a good gesture. Nice to see that.
Boy, did he have some week down in Mexico City. And he picks up where he left off in San Diego with a leadoff single in the 7th.
You know, I was very surprised that Vinny Castilla, the manager for Mexico, did not have him in the starting lineup. And to me, it didn't matter if it was a lefty against lefty. I mean, he has shown that he can hit Korean pitching.
Edgar Gonzalez has now been called back. And Freddie Sandoval out of the Angels organization will pinch hit.
And to me, Vinny is doing the right things. Castilla is a skipper, understands that urgency doesn't necessarily lead you to make changes in the 9th inning. This is when things can change. You have Gonzalez on deck. Meat of the order coming up. Take advantage of it.
And now with Sandoval being announced, Korea will make a move and bring in a left-hander out of the bullpen. So now the strategic wheels are turning. And it's a 2-run game. Let's see if Sandoval will end up batting for himself, or will he be called back? Well, we'll let you know when we come back. It's 4-2 Korea. Nobody out in the 7th. Korean manager In-sik Kim wants to turn Freddie Sandoval around. Switch hitter, so he will bat from the right-hand side against Kwang Young Kim. Who got cuffed around in that 14-2 game where Japan beat Korea. Korea's 3 wins back at the Tokyo Dome were all by shutout. Now Sandoval, who played collegiately at the University of San Diego, hit one out in the rain against Cuba. Oh, was that a miserable night in Mexico City? Cuba routed Mexico 16-4 in a driving rain and temperatures in the 40s.
Became a point in which it was dangerous conditions both in the infield and on the mound.
And so when Cuba actually won it on a walk-off home run, the mercy rule was applied. Couldn't help but wonder which team was happier it came to an end. Oh, was it nasty that night.
Bad from the get-go.
Garcia leading from first, and Sandoval takes a bender for a strike.
Very good hitter, Freddie Sandoval. Very similar swings from the right and left side.
Kim is just 20 years of age.
For 20 years of age, he has done marvelous things already in Korean organized baseball.
Last year, a record of merely 16-4 and an ERA of 239. Sandoval pops it up in short left field. Kim with the catch, and that's the first out of the 7th inning.
Well, when there's communication, as we have been talking about how efficient they are, look at the shortstop and how quickly, when he hears a voice, he peels off. No confusion. Give your outfielder a clear lane and make the play easy.
Obviously, it's easier for an outfielder coming in on a ball like that than it is for an infielder going back.
It's just the rhythm, the timing, the whole bit. This way they practice is the way they play.
Adrian Gonzalez, a hit, a walk, and a ground out tonight. And a fastball upstairs.
Going back to that play, Charlie, a lot of times you'll see a shortstop who's not part of the action, not part of the play, still in the way of the fielder. All of a sudden, that outfielder hears another voice and he thinks it's a shortstop calling the ball again.
Again, we were talking about it earlier in the game, just watching the Koreans practice and the Japanese practice. You know, oftentimes before a big prize fight, for instance, they will talk about how they spar so well and they're ready for the big game, or in football they get ready. Much like that, the Japanese and the Koreans, their practice sessions before a game are serious business. Off the end of the bat, plenty of room in foul territory for Bum Ho Lee. That's one thing, you know, as you watch Major League Baseball on an everyday basis. You don't see that intensity as players prepare for a game. And now there's going to be yet another pitching change. With 2 out in the top of the 7th, tying run at the plate. And the powerful Jorge Cantu awaiting. A Pitching change for Korea. New pitcher for Korea, their 5th of the night. Sun Min Yuk had a record of 14-5 this past year. In 155 innings, 119 strikeouts, and he was pretty near flawless against China the other day.
They're accustomed to using many hurlers throughout ball games to keep him sharp.
Cantu just out in front, narrowly missing tying the game. In case you're wondering, at the major league level, the active roster, everyday roster, is 25 players. In the World Baseball Classic, it's 28. And generally speaking, those additional 3 players are pitchers. And so you see that many more pitching changes. And then you have the pitch count as part of the equation. And with all the pitching changes, and even in a close game as this one is, this game is closing in on 3 hours already, and we're just in the top half of the 7th. So the pace of the game in the World Baseball Classic is generally different. At a 92-mile-an-hour fastball about eye high, and Cantu and the Mexicans are done in the top of the 7th. As we head to the home half of the 7th, Korea with a 4-2 lead. And who would have expected that the Koreans would pound out 3 home runs on the night? One of the fellows who's no longer in the lineup, Jung, the second baseman, did not actually hit one. So did Kim, and so did Lee. Ko, who came into the game replacing Jung, hit a home run in his first and only at bat to this point. Squares the bunt this time. Oh, that's a beauty. Oh. Well, he took a header at first base. Looks like he's okay, and well, he's got the padded pants, but they're not padded up front.
Oh, you know what? After you bump for a base hit, you can take a header and hit your nose on the dirt, and it still feels good. Beautiful bump. Pressure on Mexico as it gets later. You know, the grass gets wetter. It's a little tougher to field as the dew settles in over the infield grass.
And for Mexico, it is getting later. Trailing by 2. Safe.
There goes his coach. He's going to tell him.
Hyun-Soo Kim is the batter. He's walked, struck out, and singled to left.
This is a dangerous at-bat for Diaz. He must bear down. The reason I say that is Kim has seen a lot of pitches, a single to left, a strikeout, and a walk. And this is a situation here where you look for something that you can drive. You already feel comfortable. You see a lot of spins. You see movement, locations. You're used to the lights, and you're looking to unload.
And Mexico just have 6 outs left in their arsenal.
If I'm Diaz here on the mound, and I'm going to throw that slider, I would try it more as a backdoor slider. See if he rolls over it.
Inside and low. 3 balls and no strikes. Mexico's last best chance to score was in the 5th inning with the bases loaded and 1 out, but Hairston would strike out, Vasquez would ground out. And since then, Mexico has been about as quiet as a shadow. So they can ill afford to surrender any more runs this late in the game. If the score holds up and Korea wins, that means tomorrow night Mexico and Cuba, one of those teams will go home. Runner goes on ball 4, which would set up yet another great matchup on Tuesday, Korea and Japan. But Vinny Castilla is going to do his best to keep that from happening. He's going to the bullpen.
He's at the righty David Cortez and the lefty Dennis Reyes.
And the righty Kim is due up. We'll tell you who's coming in out of the pen when we come back. Well, Korea's sitting pretty, and David Cortez, the new pitcher for Mexico. The Koreans first and second, nobody out. The much traveled right-hander, 35 years of age. Spent 10 years in the minor leagues. Also has had time in the majors with the Braves and the Rockies and the Diamondbacks and the Indians and the Tigers. And the first batter he faces, Tae-Kyun Kim, whacks it foul down the third base line.
No wasted effort by the fans. Cell phone and all. He was diving after that ball.
Now that's a good look.
That's no wasted space. Snug fit.
And now we're going to have a pinch runner. So Kim is out. Meeny, meeny, miny, mo.
And of course, every time we see a change, we also see accompanying the coach to talk to the umpire is a translator to make sure everything is interpreted correctly.
Jin Young Lee is the pinch runner. Double steal. Ho ho. Not one, but 2 pockets got picked.
They caught Vinny's defense asleep. Cortez paid no attention to the runner at second base. Code. He had 2 steps before Cortez even started going towards home plate.
Well, the Mexicans now forced to bring the infield in, and this game is riding on their death's door.
And you would think that this game's like 10-1 or something, huh?
When they hit that home run by Ko in the 5th inning to take a 2-run lead, that 2-run lead could have been 22. Mathematically, of course, they're in the game, but you've never gotten a sense since then that Mexico could beat these guys. And something awfully dramatic is going to happen for Mexico to get back into this thing.
Only a 2-run ball game, and the whole feeling is, you talk about it, is the shoulders are hunched up. People are pacing around defensively. Infielders looking down. It's almost like they're down by 8 runs.
Been that way since the 5th. Augie Ojeda. Kareem Garcia, all too familiar with the way They play baseball in Korea. The Hairston brothers. Two and two, and there's a drive into left field, and that's fair, and that's 2 more runs. So David Cortez comes in. He serves up a 2-run single, and Korea leads 6-2. Three RBIs on the night for Tai Kyun Kim.
He comes through again, a pitch that if he had taken it would have been a ball. But when you're seeing the ball well and there's not as much movement as you anticipate, you're going to find the barrel.
Now here's Tai Kyun Lee. Takes a ball.
And Cortez, Charlie, one of 4 Mexican pitchers with ERAs over 20 coming into this game.
Little wonder then that the Mexican club collectively came in with an ERA of 10 3/4.
You got Ayala came in at 21.60. You have Cortez, who had an ERA coming into this game at 27. Dennis Reyes at 40.50. And Rodriguez at 27.
I'm not a mathematician, but based on my calculator, that's not very good.
That puts a lot of pressure on the offense, an offense that responded very well in Mexico City. Here, it's been a different story.
Well, you know, again, we talked about it in the first game of the doubleheader. We talked about it previewing this game tonight. In these championship games, pitching and defense are paramount. And Korea, 2 runs and 7 hits they've surrendered to the Mexicans, a team that came in having pounded out 41 runs in the first week of the tournament. And Japan shut out the high-powered Cuban club 6-0 this afternoon.
And if you want more proof, find out in the major leagues how many games in the playoffs or World Series are blowouts. Very few.
Lee with the walk. The old saying that offense sells tickets and defense wins games. And now Teddy Higuera is going to go out and talk to Cortez. Probably as much as anything, trying to lift his spirits.
Vinny Castilla. What a staff he has with Fernando, Ever Magallanes next to him, Jose Tolentino, Teddy Higuera, Armando Reynoso. Experience is not lacking in the Mexican staff.
There's Fernando. Off in the corner, Fernando's hideaway.
It's so Fernando right there, isn't it? Personality wise.
He has, and a lot of folks simply don't know Fernando, and I'm lucky enough to be around him every day during the baseball season. Has one of the driest senses of humor. First and second and nobody out. Bum Ho Lee. I think it's going to take a Ho Lee experience from Mexico to get back into this game.
And
6-2 now. Here
we go again. Bum Ho Lee, home run in the second inning, ground out in the fourth. He's the one with a butcher boy play that ended up being a single, but he showed bunt 3 times his previous at bat. Showed bunt here already this at bat.
Strike. Oliver Perez started for Mexico tonight. 4 2/3 innings. Okay, but not great. 4 runs and 6 hits. Better than his performance a week ago tonight.
Mexico really needed Oliver Perez. with 85 pitches. But they needed him to go deeper to be more efficient.
Gave up 3 solo home runs. Fernando Valenzuela, the bench coach. Korean fans are hooping and hollering and feeling like this game belongs to them, and that, if that's the case, that sets up a terrific showdown on Tuesday night between those kissing cousins, Japan and Korea. That is a rivalry. The 2-2 drilled into left field for a hit. The bases are loaded. Runners go station to station. 3 hits for Bumhole Lee.
He's got a nice swing under control. And no wonder sometimes they use him to play small ball. He's always under control with the bat.
Well, David Cortez faces 3 batters. All 3 of them get aboard. Still nobody out in the 7th. Well, you would think for poor Dennis Reyes, tonight can only get better than his last performance on Thursday, when he faced 5 batters. They all scored. He didn't record an out. And as Jose mentioned, his ERA now is 40.5. And he almost hit Young Kyu Lee. That was a bad night at the office.
Hubert had him more than figured out in a rainy evening in Mexico City.
His night was as miserable as the weather. He threw a couple of Nuke LaLoosh's wild pitches to the screen. Fly ball left field. Retreating is Pasichi. Tagging and scoring is the Korean runner from third, Kim. It is now 7-2. And now Vinny Castilla is coming out and going to make another change. It's a good thing you don't have any pressing engagements tonight, Jose.
Nada.
Luis Ayala, the 11th pitcher used tonight. This is Ayala before the game. Having fun.
No better representation of his country's colors. The tricolor for Mexico.
First and second, 1 out, 3 in the 7th.
Charlie, that was outfit and all. The whole thing was going on there.
Couldn't catch a fly ball, but he looked good. That's not his job. His job is to come in out of the bullpen. He did for Team Mexico 3 years ago in the very first game of the World Baseball Classic. He blew out his elbow. Throw gets him at second base. Bill Miller, the second base umpire, with the call. First and third and 2 out.
Seemed like there was a little confusion there by the shortstop Augie Ojeda. And the second baseman Sandoval. As there's some hesitation of double clutch. And Sandoval almost felt like Ojeda threw him a changeup. Took him way out of the bag. Luckily he stayed on it long enough.
Well, the way this game is now moving on, albeit slowly, at a 5-run deficit. It's almost understandable that the Mexicans' concentration has gone awry. Hyun-Gon Park is the batter. He's 0 for 2 and a walk. Well, make it 1 for 3 and an RBI. It is now 8-2. You almost get the sense if this was a fight, the referee would stop it.
Is one line drive after the other. They just cut you up in many different ways. Everything started by taking a comfortable lead using the long ball. But as of late, with a chisel.
Well, this has been such a precision performance by this Korean team. It's now 8-2. They'll beat you with the long ball, the bunt, hitting the other way. Great defense. Boy, this team can play.
Not to be taken lightly, the Olympic champions. Well, now we get a glimpse as to why they've been so dominant in international competition lately. And again, even though they did not make it to the finals in the original World Baseball Classic, they played great baseball.
Oh man, we were talking about it earlier. That 1-0 game against Japan up in Anaheim was as good a baseball game as any baseball fan could ever want to see. And they beat Cuba in the Olympics in Beijing, with Cuba having the winning runs aboard in the 9th inning. And Gurriel was forced to hit into a game-ending gold medal winning double play for Korea. So it'll be Korea and Japan, barring some miraculous comeback by Mexico. Korea had difficulty hitting in the clutch early, but not so much here in the 7th inning, as they have plated 4 runs and expanded their lead to 6.
Korea was 6-1 in the 2006 World Baseball Classic. Averaged 3.7 runs per game. And against them, they averaged 2 runs per game under that man, In-Sik Kim.
Boy, huh? It's been a long night for Team Mexico and their fans. And it's getting longer and it's getting chillier. And for the Korean fans, polar opposite of these fellas. Oh.
And with the proximity here to the border here in San Diego, a nice turnout for Mexican fans and Koreans coming from everywhere here in Southern California.
There is a huge Korean population in Los Angeles. Call strike 3, and at long last the inning is over. We head to the 8th. It's 8-2. One of the great cities in the United States, San Diego, and we'll be in Miami tomorrow night, as Venezuela and Puerto Rico will have at it from Dolphin Stadium, home of the Florida Marlins. Six outs left for Team Mexico.
Charlie, this is San Diego Superchargers territory. Not just the Chargers, the Superchargers. Don't you forget.
Well, they wish it would be the Super Padres this year. It doesn't look like that's going to happen, though.
Buddy Black has a great challenge ahead of him.
That's a nice way of putting it. And the ball upstairs and outside to Scott Hairston. Scott will be playing with the Padres this year. Jorge Vasquez on deck, Rod Barajas to follow. Fastball from Uke. And it's 2-1.
Perez was very over anxious today. He came up with a huge spot earlier in the game and just spread the zone too much with the bases loaded with only one out, struck out.
That was really the end of the line for Mexico looking back on this game. They had the bases loaded, 1 out in a 2-run game. Hairston would strike out, Vasquez would ground out, and since then Mexico has had 1 base hit and nary a threat. Meanwhile, Correa blew it open with 4 in the 7th inning. Did he go around? Yes, says first base umpire Juan Rodriguez, and that's the first out of the 8th. And 5 outs are left.
It's totally the opposite of what we saw Hairston do at the end of his at-bats in Mexico City. He was finally, and admittedly, just as we're walking off the field one day after a game, he says, I'm finally seeing the ball better.
Vinny Castilla did not have the benefit of the replay as Juan Rodriguez got the call right. Well, the umpire's never right when you're trailing by 6.
No. We're in desperate mode to get base runners, and every little swing, every little half swing counts. It looks big. It's huge. Just there's been no pressure at all from Mexico since that 5th inning, and then in between the 1st and the 5th, maybe 1 inning of pressure.
Whacked down the left field line and foul.
And obviously by that I mean base runners, counts, especially hitters counts, attempted bunts, no chance to put runners in motion on the base path because you're not giving yourself that opportunity. And the Koreans pretty much saying you're playing right into our hands.
In every facet of the game tonight, Korea has outplayed Mexico by a significant margin. Little wonder then they lead it 8-2. And so far through almost 5 games in the tournament, Mexico has been outscored by the opposition 45-43.
Well, we saw them do it over at home. With Mexico City, the first game they played, pounded 17-7 by Australia. And then bouncing back strongly to get in here.
2 out.
Question becomes, Charlie, can they do it again against tougher competition?
Well, the question about Mexico coming into the tournament, would they have enough pitching? The answer now through 5 games has been no.
So I'm guessing it'll be up to Jorge Campillo to stop the bleeding on the mound. And that's where it has to go, on the mound.
Campillo turned in the best pitching performance of any of the Mexican hurlers.
What he did to the Australians was just neutralize them completely. Pitching backwards, excellent changeup, magnificent curveball, just a show me fastball.
Well, the Mexican fans have pretty much given up. A hanger into center field for a hit. Rod Barajas a 2-out single.
It's going to feel good for Rod Barajas. He had not looked good at all. 0-for-3 coming into this at bat. Look at the pause here. See, he recognizes breaking ball. Almost gave up on it, but kept those hands back. Pull the trigger.
Rarely do you see a ball squared up that way on a double clutch. And he just smacked one into center field. The 2-out hit. Well, that's going to end the inning as Persici grounds to short. No runs and a hit. We head now to the bottom of the 8th. 8-2 Korea. More World Baseball Classic action tomorrow, 8 o'clock local time in Miami. Venezuela and Puerto Rico. Both teams at least know they will play to see another day. However, Cuba and in all likelihood Mexico, only one of them will survive. That game starts 8 o'clock local time in San Diego, 11 o'clock on the east coast of the United States, and you have a far better idea knowing where you are and what time the game will start than we do. But for a frame of reference, that's where it is, and that's what time it'll be. Coe leads off. The second baseman came in and replaced the injured Jung back in the 4th inning, and he's 2 for 2, a home run and 2 runs scored. And a fly ball to left field, easy play for Garcia. Joaquin Soria. What a story he turned out to be last year in Kansas City. And now, if he can continue what he began last year, he really can be included among one of the game's elite closers.
All-star closer Soria, and ended up with a Kansas City job as a closer by default. They thought he was going to be a middle guy, maybe a setup guy, and perhaps even a starter, but his stuff is so crisp, and they figured he is so good for 1 inning. We don't have a designated closer. McDougal had gone through some problems in Kansas City. This is our guy.
42 saves in 63 outings and an ERA of 160.
His book is he's coming right after you with a fastball, curveball, slider, all for a strike.
And he's one of these guys who's just got movement on every pitch. As it dips down around the knees for a strike on the outside edge.
When you saw that pitch, Charlie, you thought perhaps sinker down, but the ball just keeps it playing. Keeps that level, as you call that movement.
That's just something you're born with. Look at that. Line to left, and it's going to be caught by Persici in right, and that's the first out of the bottom of the 8th.
It's a big smile for somebody that just made an out.
Well, his team is leading by 6.
The way they play defense, he's probably happy to wear a glove again.
Jin Young Lee. A walk, a strikeout. I'm sorry. 2 walks, a hit, and a strikeout.
You look at his figure and just imagine the reaction from the Korean fans just today when he took the field to warm up. And that's here in San Diego. Just imagine back home.
It has been astonishing to hear and read what the television ratings have been like back in Japan and Korea for the World Baseball Classic. All 3 of the games in which Japan played at home at the Tokyo Dome was sold out. The Japanese, about 30,000 of them, came to watch practice even before the World Baseball Classic began. And now this night is 3 outs from its conclusion. And they have had but 3 hits in the last 4 innings. Actually 3 hits in the last 5. And so this would appear to be an insurmountable hurdle. New pitcher for the Koreans in the 9th, Sun Won-oh. Who averaged about a strikeout an inning last season. And a 1.40 ERA. Got a 6-run cushion to sit on here in the 9th.
You know what, Charlie, the more I see these numbers kind of coming out of Korea, the more I respect the year that Karim Garcia had.
He had a very solid year with the Latte Giants. And as you watch these guys compete against the world's best in the World Baseball Classic, and clearly there are a lot of major leaguers who for whatever reason are not playing in it. These numbers are not a fluke.
Karim Garcia, as you mentioned, had 30 home runs and 111 RBI in 125 games playing for Lotte.
125 games is the length of season in Korea. Ojeda, 1 out of 3 tonight, drove in the only 2 runs for Mexico in the top half of the second inning, but their lead would be short-lived as Korea would bounce back for 2 in the second. Solo runs in the 4th and 5th on home runs, and a 4-run 7th. Smacked into left center field for a base hit. So Augie Ojeda has a couple of hits tonight.
Good piece of hitting by Augie Ojeda. From the right side, he came through with the 2 RBIs in the second inning.
Well, the bullpen has been too good for the Mexicans tonight.
Ojeda's RBIs came against the starter, Hongjin Ryu,
who gave up a couple of runs in 5 hits in 2 2/3 innings. And then the ball was handed over to the bullpen, which has been spotless. And here is Karim Garcia. Came up in the Dodger organization and just got under it. First out of the 9th.
Let's point out the fact that Korea has brought on the 8 runs, the 12 hits tonight, and they're doing without a mainstay here in 2006, the man they call the Lion King, Sung-Yup Lee, who hit 5 home runs in 7 games in the inaugural Baseball Classic, and he opted not to play this year. Plays professionally in Japan.
With all due respect to the late James Brown, these are the godfathers of soul.
Do they have it? Literally and geographically too.
It's their capital, my friend. Left center. Lee with the catch, 2 gone. So now Mexico down to their final out. Adrian Gonzalez, 1 for 3 and a walk tonight. He had a screaming line drive off the foot of the starter, Hongjin Ryu, back in the 3rd inning. Ryu would stay in the game, but not for much longer. Runner goes on defensive indifference, and Ojeda will return to first as Gonzalez fouls it off to the left.
In fact, Charlie, when Ryu left the game in the 3rd inning, he was walking back to the dugout. He went straight toward the clubhouse, and he was limping on his way back.
Well, the bullpen certainly picked him up, and the Koreans too. And again, with defensive indifference, Ojeda goes to second base.
Obviously, Charlie's referring to there's no stolen base. Defensively, you ignore him. He means nothing right now.
They just want to get the final out. The second baseman, Young Min Ko, is playing in short right field. Well, they know that Adrian Gonzalez, a big burly power hitter, doesn't run all that well, cuts down the angle.
you play like that, you're defending more ground, side to side. You take a chance on the slow roller, but not that very many times when Adrian Gonzalez is going to ground slowly to the second baseman.
That's the look of a Sunday morning softball alignment. That's your ball game. And Korea simply too good on this Sunday night in San Diego as they rout Mexico 8-2. For Korea, 8 runs, 12 hits, 1 error. They left 8 men on base. And for Mexico, 2 runs, 9 hits, 1 error. They left 10. So Korea earns themselves a night off tomorrow. Mexico will play Cuba tomorrow night, 8 o'clock San Diego time, 11 o'clock Eastern time in the United States. And either Mexico or Cuba will go home after the outcome of tomorrow night's game.